99% of decisions are reversible. And we don't give ourselves permission to change our mind, change our path.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I mean, literally yesterday, I committed to something, and I was on a phone call with a woman. I really like what she's doing. She's incredible. I'm like, yay, go you. And she's like, well, would you do this thing? I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I hung up the phone and I was like, ugh. And this morning I called her back and I was like, listen, I love what you're doing. I really do. I want to champion you. It just it's not right for me right now.
Yeah.
I don't have to justify beyond that. And so often I think we get into a place, and she was wonderful about it. She's like, I completely understand, not a problem. And even if she wasn't, so be it. I did the thing that was right by me. And I think, we have to love ourselves and give ourselves the grace that we give other people. If somebody else did that to me, I'd be like, oh yeah, no skin off my, like, I don't even think about it.
Totally get it.
But there's like so much buildup of like, oh, what are they going to say? Or they're going to judge me. They're going to think I'm a non-committal person. Like, it's okay. No is a complete sentence. Say it frequently.
It's a hard sentence. I think those are two of the hardest letters to say. And this is coming from you're a writer, I'm a writer. I get that. Like, no is a sentence in its own, but it is a hard thing to say, especially when you've been conditioned, and the longer you've been conditioned your whole life to, worry about showing up in a certain way, people please, worry about what the outside world thinks. Even when you were talking about like the models and CEOs, I've talked to a lot of actually models on this show specifically, and there's a lot of issues, and they've had to do a lot of work with going within to finally love themselves, where the outside world looks at them and be like, you are perfect. Like, we put their pictures on their wall as, and like, you are so perfect.
And that's part of the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're
because
not,
that's where they find their value.
Good. And they find their value in that way, in the outside world, or like those CEOs you said, you find your value in what's outside of you. And we have to bring it back to finding our value from within. That's the only way we can find that true peace, and we can show up how we want to.
Wearing those ruby slippers, baby. That's it. I think, recognizing that you are your own wizard, and, the things that you want in life, in patterns of behavior, in challenges, I think I don't think we realize how powerful we are to change our minds, like to literally change and shape and mold our brain, our behavior, the way we see the world. And I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's easy. I don't want to be Pollyanna-ish and like, oh, just, sprinkle of glitter and some rainbows. Like, you can do it. It's not. It is incredibly difficult, but it's the best. I mean, what other investment would you make in yourself? Like, what better investment? People go to the gym, they work their bodies. People, eat healthy. They do all kinds, like, work here. It's really powerful. Yeah.
Well, you're coming from it from, you have a scientific background, but even coming from like an intuitive background, that spiritual place, that I have a lot of learning and teaching in, is that things change on a moment by moment basis. So we have to be willing to go with the flow. We have to go with the flow of life. We have to ride that wave. And what, like you said, what might have felt good to you in a moment on that conversation, and you said yes, the energy changed, something changed. And there's some, there's some unspoken things that happen sometimes that change. And it's like, okay, this isn't right now. It might have been right 4 hours ago, but it's not right now. And that's okay.
I think, I think about life as a roller coaster that you're strapped into.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so often where people get into trouble is they try and control the roller coaster ride. Like, you don't get to control that. There's so much outside of our control. And the more we fight it, like, no, love me, Courtney, love me. You don't get to control that, right? Not COVID. I don't want COVID now. Like, those are things that are outside of your control.
Yeah.
But you do get to control the ups and downs here. So the shifts of whether this is an adventure or an ordeal are entirely internal, and they're entirely malleable. And that's where your power comes in, is saying, okay, and to your point of like manifesting and spiritual energy and science, I think there's a really interesting intersection there. So I'm a hard-nosed scientist, like absolutely hard-nosed. And the first time somebody told me to meditate, I was like, that's woo-woo, blah. And then I read the science and I was like, holy God, I gotta get on this meditation track, because it kind of started me down this path of recognizing, and really opening as a scientist and a more spiritual human being, that that just because we can't measure it scientifically doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means we don't have the tools yet.